I'm so excited for this video, you guys. We're going to be talking about my 25 recommendations for the Sephora VIB sale. I think the technical name for it is the Holiday Savings Event. So I've got 25 recommendations for you, mostly makeup, a little bit of skincare, and I'll have all the details for this event down below in my description box. But it's tiered. You know, we've got Rouge, VIB, and Insider members. It is open only to members of the Sephora point system, reward system, which is free to join. So if you join, you will immediately get 10% off. So for Rouge members, it starts, I guess depending on how you think of it, it starts tonight or it starts tomorrow. But it starts at 12 a.m. this Friday, which is basically tonight Eastern. So that's 9 p.m. if you're in the Pacific time zone. So it does start actually tonight for a lot of us. I'm so excited for the sale. Every time the sale rolls around, I always think, oh, whatever, no big deal. And then the closer it gets, the more excited I get. This happens only twice a year. And the one in the fall, I feel like is just, I don't know, it's more exciting. I just, I guess because it's close to the holidays, you can buy some gifts, you can, do some shopping for yourself, you can stock up on some things. The seasons have changed, so maybe you need a little bit more skincare now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler. So this is my recommendations video, like I just mentioned. Tomorrow, I'm gonna post a shop with me video. So I've been doing that, and that's basically like what I'm putting in my cart, what's on my wish list, etc. And then on my blog, I'm gonna have some recommendations for gift sets. So definitely check out my blog. That's gonna go up sometime tomorrow. Sign up for my newsletter so you'll be informed when a new blog post comes up. Anyway, without any further ado, let's jump into these recommendations. Okay. I'm going to start with one that is going to be absolutely no surprise, but the Dr. Jart BB Premium Beauty Balm. This is their tinted moisturizer with SPF 40. I have it in the shade Fair Light, and when I was making up my list and kind of going over, making sure everything was available, I think my shade is sold out. The Fair Light is actually sold out. Hopefully it's going to get restocked during the sale because you can shop the sale as many times as you want, which is one of the very exciting parts of this of this event. It's not like a one-time use only code or whatever. So hopefully they'll restock the Fair Light if you have a similar skin tone to me, but they do have light, medium, and then deep. But this is actually what I have on my skin today. You guys have heard me rave about this product all year long, basically. I just love how easy it is. It has an SPF in there, which is always handy. It's not the only SPF that I depend on, but an extra layer I just don't think hurts. I think the shade Fair Light works really well for my skin tone, which is always helpful. I love the texture of it. This is a very creamy, kind of lotiony kind of texture. It's not too thin like a serum foundation. It's not too thick like a cream foundation. It's really nice. So it just blends in really nicely. I feel like I can apply it with my fingers, which is actually what I did today. My generally preferred method of applying foundation is with a brush. I can apply it with a brush, no problem. It's just wonderful. It wears really, really well. I've worn this all day long, and I've never seen it wear away strangely or kind of break up or do anything weird. So I love this Dr. Jart BB Premium Beauty Balm. And this has definitely been one of my favorites this year. Another one that has been wonderful, worked wonderfully for me, is the Hourglass Veil Hydrating Skin Tint. This is also relatively new. I have the shade 5. I thought it was gonna have a longer number. I have shade 5, and it's a little bit deep and warm for me. So I definitely have to, maybe during the sale, I have to get a lighter one because I do really like the texture of this. I like the very, very slight radiance that it gives my skin. I have very, very dry skin, so I like foundations that aren't too matte, that have at least a skin-like kind of appearance with a hint of radiance, and that's what this gives me. It wears really well, and similarly to the Dr. Jart, it has a nice kind of creamy texture. I just really enjoy it. So that is the Hourglass Veil Hydrating Skin Tint. I just think it wears beautifully. And like the Dr. Jart and this, I would say the coverage for both of these is like a light medium. That's sort of where I'm the most comfortable. I don't really like a high coverage foundation. I still like my skin to shine through. I just use base products to just kind of even out my skin tone a little bit. So they both have a light medium coverage, along with the third foundation that I have to recommend is the Shiseido Revitaliscence Skin Glow. This is this is the newest out of the 3 that I'm recommending. But I just had to recommend this one because it's so good. I've been reaching for it more and more, and I have the shade 150 Lace. It is a very cool toned, almost like grayish looking foundation. The texture of this foundation is a bit thinner than both the Hourglass and the Dr. Jart. So yeah, it's more of like a liquid versus like a lotiony kind of texture. It has a light medium coverage. I would say this has the ability more than the other two to have a higher coverage. Because it's so thin, you can very easily add another layer without it becoming like too overwhelming, but you can very easily add another layer and get like a medium coverage. So I think in terms of coverage, this one is a little bit more versatile. I don't like using my fingers to apply this because of the thin texture. I definitely like using a brush with this foundation. But like the other ones, I just think it wears really well. I think this shade 150 is really, really nice. Sometimes it's difficult to get a shade that is like neutral slash cool enough for my skin tone. They always tend to have either like an orange or yellow undertone, or it goes peach. But very rarely, I think, do companies, I think you can see it in the bottle, go kind of grayish. And for some reason, foundations with that undertone really, really work well for me. So anyway, I really love this foundation. All three of these, I very highly recommend. I've worn all three of these quite a bit over the past few months. The next product is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Palette, Face Sculpting Palette. I think Sephora has an even longer name for this. This is a product that I have been raving about all year long. I feel like these two things are probably the two things that have shown up in my favorites like all year. So I'm sorry to be so repetitive, but this is just fantastic. It's great for travel. It's great for spot concealing. It's great for concealing under the eyes, which is what I have done today. I actually mix these two together. So I'll put a little bit of this down and then put a little bit of this on top, because this is just a little bit too light for my skin tone, but I like having that like brightness under there. And then I just put a little bit of this on top just to kind of tone it down a little bit. The texture of this, the coverage, the wear time, like everything about these products, all 12 in here, are incredible, incredible. I just was so surprised at how seamlessly these products went on and stayed that way all day. I couldn't believe it. And I love that you have like all of these different tones to play with. You know, I'm not a makeup artist, so I don't use these deeper tones at the bottom. If you are a makeup artist, I think you definitely need this in your kit. But I kind of stick to these up here when I'm dealing with concealing, or if I'm using this in lieu of like foundation all over, if I'm just sort of like spot touching up like areas of my face that have hyperpigmentation or dark spots or whatever, I just stick to up here. And then over here we have some contour, bronzer, and some highlights. I use the contour quite a bit, and I use this highlight down here quite a bit. Everything else, like this one is a little bit too warm for me. My point in telling you all this is that you will end up using like most of the products in here. I think you'd be surprised at how many of the products in here that you will end up using, because when I first looked at this, I was like, great, I'll probably use like these two and be done. But it's really fun, at least I have a lot of fun, kind of like mixing up the shades and stuff, and like kind of figuring out where I like using things. Like I just mentioned, I'll use these two under my eyes, but when I'm covering up my face, I'll like throw a little bit of this on. This I'll use in certain areas. It's a lot of fun on top of the formula and just like the stellar quality of the product. So anyway, that is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Face Sculpting Palette. So, so good. As for loose powder, this is what I have. Basically, I powdered like underneath my eyes today. And like lightly all over, but I really focus the powder over here, like where I have larger pores. But this selection actually surprised me, but I was going through my loose powders, and this is a powder that I've always enjoyed, that I've always liked. I have recommended it to you guys, and maybe it's appeared in one of my favorites. But anyway, I've just been using it more and more and appreciating it more and more. I don't know, it's funny like how like what we gravitate towards just sort of like shifts throughout, I don't know, throughout our lives, throughout the year, I'll say. But this is the Givenchy Prism Libre loose powder. I actually just learned it's not Prism Libre, it's Prism Libre loose powder. I have it in the shade number 2, Satin Blanc. And this is the powder, I think everyone knows this. It's got 4 quadrants. So it's got 4 different tones of powder. I believe 2 are meant to correct and 2 are meant to be like a radiance situation. But what I love so much about this powder is the finish that it gives. It's not a really flat, matte, drying kind of powder. Again, I have very dry skin, so I really try and stay away from powders like that, although I understand the need for those. But this has a little bit more of like a really, really subtle satin sheen, just something that really makes your skin look soft and fluffy in a way without that dryness, without that kind of really overly powdery kind of look. And I love it. I love it. It blurs, it really sets down my makeup. And yeah, and this particular tone just works for me. I think I've tried the lighter one, which has like cooler tones. That one is like a little bit too light. I think it's called like mousseline, but I think you've seen it. It has like green, blue, purple powders in there. That's, I think, if you have a very light, cool skin tone, I think that would look beautiful on you. But if you have more of like a neutral skin tone, I think this number 2 Satin Blanc would work really nicely for you. This one has just really grown on me. I want to say over the past like 2 years, I think is when or even longer. I've been using this powder even longer. But yeah, I've just been like using it more and more and just really, really appreciating it. All right, I have quite a few blushes, and I know, you guys are not surprised. I love a good blush, but I'm gonna start with the one that I'm wearing today. This is an oldie but goodie. I've been talking about this blush for a long time, and yeah, it just sort of like re-entered my life, probably because of the seasonal change, but this one is like a fairly, maybe slightly warm, but kind of like a neutral blush, or at least I think of it as like a neutral shade for me. But this is the Dior Rouge Blush in the shade Charnel. There are a number of shades that I really like in this particular line, but Charnel is my favorite. So it's $4.59, and let me just do a swatch so you can see it just swatched by itself. Now, I have it on pretty heavily on my cheeks, but otherwise, it just gives you a real subtle kind of flush to the cheek. And I just think it's very natural looking. It's very, very, you know, everyday. And the texture of this is really soft. It picks up easily on the brush, but it's not too powdery. You can see like my compact isn't like a total mess. It's not that powdery. There's something really special about this formula. Like if you finger swatch this, you'll feel it almost feels like velvet. It's just really nice. I just really, really love this formula in this particular shade. And I'm gonna talk about these two things like one item, but the Dior Rosy Glow Blush is another one of my favorites. This is in shade Rosewood, which happens to be my favorite shade. And this one is a little bit pinkier, a little bit cooler toned than the Charnel. And I'm gonna swatch this next to the Charnel. I think it's too hard to tell, but I'll talk it through. The Rouge blushes from Dior have a little bit more of a satin finish. These have a little bit more of a matte finish. Now, I'm not someone that generally likes matte blushes. However, there's something very creamy about these rosy glow blushes from Dior, and they just look really, what's the word? They just look really glowy on the cheeks, despite the fact that they don't actually have like a shine, like a very kind of glaring metallic shine. They're glowy in a more like, I don't know, like a pulsating way. There's something about, I don't know, like combination of the formula and the shades that just like make your cheeks radiate. It's just something really beautiful about these Rosy Glow blushes. They have a shade, which I don't wear often because it is very, very bold, but it's called Cherry. It's one of the newer shades. Remember they came out like this past spring, they came out with like 4 new shades. It's one of the brighter, it's almost like a fluorescent red shade. Wow, that one it just lights up your whole face. It's really beautiful. I didn't pull that one out because like I said, I don't wear it that often. Rosewood, I wear quite often. So I just wanted to mention these two together just so I could show you kind of like the difference between the two. If you like more of a traditional blush that has like a little bit of a satin sheen or whatever, nothing too crazy, I would go with the Rouge blush. But if you like something that's a little bit more matte, I would go with the Rosy Glow. They're both beautiful. I don't think you can go wrong with either, but those are the subtle differences between the two formulas. All right, the next blush, although these are technically a blush slash an eyeshadow, are the Valentino Eye to Cheek blushes or eyeshadows. So this one is shade number 8, And I'll swatch all these for you. I have a lot of them, and I could not pick one. This is shade number 4. This one is shade number 3. Isn't that cool? It's like a lilac. And this one is shade number 2. Okay, here are the 4 shades. So this is 2, 3, 4, and 8. So I'm just gonna come a little bit closer here. I hope you can see, first of all, especially compared to the Dior, how much thicker this formula is. And I'm trying to tilt my hand so you can see that there's like a metallic shift to all of them. So these are a little bit glitzier than the Dior blushes. There's like a lot more going on. I could definitely see using these on the eyes as well. I just happen to love them as blushes. But they're a very, very creamy formula. They almost feel like a cream when you finger swatch them. So I think that's what would account for its thickness in the formula. So they're pretty dense. So in terms of a blush, I don't like to pick up too much product, but I really like to buff it in because I feel like it takes a little bit of work to kind of blend these blushes in because of the creaminess to them. And I think it's very easy to kind of go overboard with these blushes because if you pick up a lot, like it's more than just a straight up kind of powder. So anyway, those are just some notes on the formula or whatever, but I just think they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. I love how they're really, really creamy. I love that like as I'm buffing them out, they just seem to really blow out and blend like all across my cheek. The shades are so gorgeous. I love them all. Like this lilac one, number 3, is so beautiful. It's so unique if you're doing like a cool tone look, which you guys, cool tone eyeshadows are back with a vengeance. And this is like the perfect complement to that if you're doing something like cool, like really cool, really cool. This is gonna be a perfect complement to that. But I just don't think you can go wrong with any of the shades. I have another one that I didn't pull out, but it was a limited edition. And it's, you know, another one. I'm like, it's just gorgeous. They're all just really, really beautiful. I've like bought all of these just sort of like on a whim, like knowing like, oh, I don't have this particular shade, and I love them all. I love them all. I could not pick out a favorite. So highly recommend these blushes. All right, you guys knew this video was not gonna go by without me mentioning the Westman Atelier Super Loaded highlights, the liquid Super Loaded highlights. These just came out this past summer, and I just love them so much. So I have the Peau de Pêche as a highlight, just sort of over my makeup. But what I like to do, and if you guys have heard me talk about this product for months now, you've heard me kind of share this trick, but the Peau de Rosé is great underneath the eyes, underneath your concealer, just to add like a little bit of brightness, and that's what I did today. And I'm not usually someone that likes a sheen, especially a metallic sheen underneath my eyes. I just feel like it makes you look just a little bit too glowy, a little bit too, I feel like it makes me look sweaty. So I usually stay away from it. And I know there's like concealers with like a sheen to them, and some people love them, looks great on them. Again, I just feel like it makes me look sweaty. So I was a little hesitant about doing this trick, this Peau de Rosé trick. But when I was in London, when these were released, and I was at Selfridges, the makeup artist there, who's incredible, she showed us that trick, and I could not believe how soft and blurred and like ethereal it made this whole under eye area look. It just was magical, absolutely magical. And there was still a small little part of me that was kind of cynical. I was like, I'm gonna have to try it on myself, because she was actually doing it on my friend, and I was like, oh my God, like what just happened? So when I tried it for myself, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how smooth and blurred my under eyes looked. And and I had this like literal lit from within sort of effect, without it being too like just shiny. You know what I mean? Like just straight up shiny. It just is a glow. It's the most perfect glow. And the Peau de Pêche, just such a nice, soft, slightly glossy sheen. The Peau de Soleil is the deepest one. It's if you want to add a little bit of bronzer, at least if you have a skin tone like mine, a little bit of bronze to your skin. I don't use this quite as much, but if I do want like a kind of a all over glowy kind of look, I will add a little bit of this on top of like my bronze. It just glows up your entire face. So had to mention these, and a little bit goes a long way. So I would just do like maybe 2 drops for like the Peau de Pêche and 1 drop underneath each eye with the Peau de Rosé if you want to do that concealer trick. Oh my God, that's all you need. So these are gonna last forever, despite me using them all the time. Okay, and one other highlight I wanted to mention, these are the new Tom Ford Soleil Neige Glow Highlighters. I have number 1, which is Rose Iris, and number 2, which is Grand Paradis. And these are incredible, incredible highlights. I did a video dedicated to this small collection, but look at this highlight. This is like if you want to glow, okay? If you want to glow, like look no further. Do you see how it looks just glossy and wet, but it doesn't look heavy? And let me just swatch number 1 for you. So I use both when I want to shine, but the Rose Iris is a little bit pinker, great for cooler skin tones. This one is a little bit more neutral, great for like neutral to warmer skin tones. I just love the Grand Paradis. I just think it looks so great. If I'm really looking to shine, really looking for some major highlight, I've been reaching for this. Isn't that special? It looks like glaze. Like it's, oh my God, it's so pretty. It's so smooth. Yeah, if you're looking for highlight, these are so good. So good. I was really impressed with these. And I feel like, we've gone through so many different types of highlights over the past, I don't know, 8 years. 8 or so years, and there's only been a few where I've been like, wow, not only is that really shiny, but it's also really smooth, and it's like really reflective, but it's not like thick and obnoxious. There's just something really like elegant about these, despite the fact that they're really high shine. So gorgeous. All right, and speaking of the Tom Ford Soleil Neige collection, I have on my eyes the quad that came out with this collection. So this one is in Lumière d'Hiver, and this is what the quad looks like. Now I know it doesn't look like much, okay, but I just think it looks so beautiful on the eyes. It gives you a really beautiful like neutral / cool tone look. I love that there's like 2 mattes, 2 shimmers, and I'll do swatches in just a second. The formula is great. The mattes blend out beautifully. The shimmers, I think, blend out beautifully. So I put down this light matte shade. I just put that down all over my lid, almost like as a primer. Then I put this shimmer down kind of closer to the inner corner of my lid. I put this deeper shimmer down towards the outer portion of my lid, and then I layered just a little bit of this dark brown matte shade just over it all. I feel like I look very appropriate for like many different occasions. Like if I'm going to a holiday party, if I'm going out to dinner, if I'm going to work, if I'm just running errands, like it's not that bold, but it's also not super plain at the same time. It's not like too basic. You know what I mean? So let me do some swatches. So here are the 4 shades. I just love these metallic shimmery shades because much like the highlight, there's something just very smooth, very elegant about them. They're not like too glittery or too glitzy. There's no like duochrome to them. They're just a really beautiful, straight up, like sparkly metallic shade. And I love them. And I love the 2 mattes that complement it. I just think it works so beautifully together. I think whatever combination you use out of the 4 shades, you're gonna get a different look. I wanted to put all 4 on for you, but if you just wanted to use any of the metallic shades, either of the metallic shades, I should say, a one and done look, perfect. You can just stick with the mattes because these will blend and give you like a nice ombre look. It's just a great quad. I really feel like Tom Ford like knocked it out of the park with this quad and those 2 highlights. So good. So good. And I've been so impressed with these Merit Solo Shadows. So the shade that I've been using pretty much exclusively is this Studio shade. This is, if you look at the range of shades, I think there's like 8 shades altogether. This is the lightest one. And this is such a great just all over my lid shade. If I'm just feeling kind of lazy and I just want to put on a little something, but not too much, I'll just put this all over my lid. Now this formula, the texture of this formula is very interesting. It's almost like a tacky clay-like texture. And this is a tip that I actually passed along. Was it in my last month's favorites? But anyway, I'll repeat it here. I've heard that some people find it like a little bit too drying or like hard to blend out. And it definitely sets down so that it does not budge. So I would do one eye at a time. But what I wouldn't do is just like really just kind of like rub it and really try and like spread it out that way. It doesn't, it's one of those formulas, it doesn't work that way. I feel like the best way, at least for me, in terms of blending it out, is to take a brush, a fairly kind of dense eyeshadow brush, and graze it along so that you're just kind of like moving the top of the shadow and like blending that out, if that makes any sense. You know what? I'm gonna try and do it on the back of my hand. So I've got my Sonergy soft concealer brush. A brush like this I think is great, especially if you wanna just add it to your entire lid. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit. It picks up fairly easily, so it's not like you gotta go in there and like swirl it around too much. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of tap and apply it everywhere. Now, once it starts to set down, it'll be really hard to move. And what I don't like to do is just sit there and like really like go at it. I just like to graze it over, and I feel like that helps blend it out, kind of soften the edges. And you just kind of want to graze the bristles over the pigment. You don't want to just like go in there and like really start like trying to move it. It's just not going to work. But I think if you let the bristles do the work, it may take a little bit longer, but you'll get a really nice kind of blend blowout effect of it. I don't know if that demo was effective, but that's what I have found, that like a lighter touch works a little bit better with these kind of shadows, which have like a little bit of stickiness. I mean, once it sets down, there's like no stickiness and it's just not gonna budge. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe this action like warms it back up a little bit. I'm not sure, but yeah, I just know like going in and really just using some like muscles to blend it out just doesn't work. But yeah, you can get like a really nice like light blown out wash with the shadows if you just use like a light touch with a brush, I think. I'm sure many people have much success with like fingers and other tools, but for me, the brush always works the best. So those are the Merit Solo shadows. They don't budge, so it's really great if you have like creasing issues, if your eyelids are kind of oily, these just don't budge. They're really awesome. So highly recommend those. And then of course, I'm gonna be like the millionth beauty influencer on YouTube to mention this palette and recommend it for this sale, but the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. It's just really pretty. It's really pretty. It works really well. I love all the different finishes. Natasha Denona eyeshadows, we know, are just famous for the texture and the blendability and you know, the effectiveness. They're just so beautiful on the eyelid. And this palette is no different. And this is such a great neutral to cooler toned palette, which I think is really kind of the times. And I just like this stone shade. Like you could live in this palette for a really, really long time without getting bored. You know what I mean? Like if there's one eyeshadow palette that you're gonna get that you don't have, that you're gonna get during this event, I would say get this palette. Now, I have ordered her Xenon palette. I'm very excited for that because I do like cool toned eyeshadows. I do like them, especially in the wintertime. I feel like frosty silvers and stuff are really, really beautiful, like with a red lip, which to me is just such a wonderful like winter holiday party look. Anyway, I haven't gotten it yet, so I can't recommend it, obviously, but I'm definitely going to be doing like a video on that once I get it. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe down below if you want to be notified for that. But I really do like Natasha Denona eyeshadows. I really love these midi palettes of hers. Yeah, I'm not like a big palette person. Like I really like my quads. I really like my duos even. I think it just takes all the guesswork out. I have no options. I'm just gonna put on what is in the compact. But when it comes to Natasha Denona, I'm so inspired. You know, I open these up and I wanna play, and I'm happy that I have options, and I just see different eye looks every time I open up her palettes. So I really, really love this one. And I've talked about this one enough on my channel, so I'm gonna move on. You know, I debated about whether or not I wanted to recommend this. Not that I don't love the product, I do. It's just kind of boring. Mascara. I love the, sorry, I don't know why this is making me laugh so hard. The Lancome Lash Idol Mascara, waterproof. Now, I think it was in my spring recommendations or some monthly favorites where I talked about the Lashy Doll mascara. And then one of you, and I'm sorry I keep forgetting your name because I've mentioned this before and you commented again, but you recommended the waterproof because I have really straight lashes, I need something to hold the curl, and you were like, get the waterproof. And I was like, I'm gonna get the waterproof. So I do think I got this during the Sephora sale in the spring, which means I need to get rid of this mascara. It's too old. But I love this mascara. Like there's some mascaras that I use in between that I love, like the Chantecaille Faux Cils, my Surratt Noir Lash Tint, just plenty of other mascaras that I love. But this one is just workhorse, tried and true. And it's what I have on my lashes today. It does pretty much keep my lashes like curled. It makes them, it's like not super volumizing. It's not super lengthening. It's like Goldilocks. It's like the Goldilocks mascara. It just does what it's supposed to do. It makes each lash a little bit thicker. It makes each lash a little bit longer. Like it's nothing too crazy because I don't like super volumizing mascaras. Those just end up looking real clumpy and not very complimentary to my very wimpy lashes. And then sometimes lengthening mascaras, they look too spidery and I don't like that either. Like I just like a my eyelashes but better situation. And yeah, and this is it. I'm definitely gonna be picking up another one of these during the sale. So this is definitely going into my cart during my shop with me video. But yeah, I thought I would mention this. As boring as I think mascara is, it's become like such a utilitarian thing. Like we all wear mascara all the time. So anyway, thought I would mention that. Okay, moving on to lips. I have been going hard with these YSL Candy Glaze like lip, like gloss and stick. I think that's the full name, something like that. And I have two shades. The shade that I have on is number 15. And this is a very, very soft bullet, so I'm not gonna raise it up completely, but I think you can get a sense of the shade there. Actually, let me do a quick swatch. It is the shade that I have on. And what I do really, really love about this particular formula is it is very, very glossy. It is very, very soft, but there's like a grip to it so that I don't feel like I just have this like loose lip product just sort of like sitting on top of my lips. There's like a grip to it, like a real gloss. I find that really soft lipsticks in the past have kind of not, like they just haven't gotten it right. Like they've just been too soft. They've just been like too soft, too gooey. They kind of fall apart in the stick and they don't have that grip. So they end up like on your teeth, like all over. They just feel messy. These don't. These feel like they have like that gloss kind of like grip to your lips. And it's great. So this 15 is such a great like nude shade. And then I also have this shade, which is is this number 2? Yeah, this is almost like a clear shade. I mean, they say it has like a pink hue, but once you put on your, it's clear. It's pretty much clear, but it feels really great on the lips. So I like having this one around as like a lip balm if my lips are feeling dry. So yeah, I've just been really, really enjoying these. I love the Rouge Volupte Shine lipsticks or whatever. Those are more of like a lipstick, like a sheer kind of lipstick. These are a very interesting formula. Like I said, they have that like little bit of grip to them. So I've really been enjoying them. And then I did want to mention some of my favorite lipsticks, which is the Gucci Satin Lipstick. Now I did a video a couple weeks ago about like my current Sephora favorites. And I mentioned this and I didn't realize that they had, I don't know if they discontinued or they're just not on Sephora, but so many of their good shades. But I pulled out one that still seems to be available on their site that I have that I really love. This one is Tasty Hazel. And this is one of those awesome like fudgy brown shades from Gucci. They just do like fudgy brown shades really well, like cool tone browns really, really well. But what I really like about this lipstick is it's like a rock solid satin lipstick. I know that sounds really weird, but I feel like lately a lot of lipsticks have a lot of silicone in them, so they like feel really slippy when they go on, but after a while they get very drying, or they're a matte lipstick, or they're like a shine lipstick, or there's like always something to them. And I think to like have just a really basic like kind of satin, straight up satin lipstick. Sometimes those are kind of hard to find. And again, I have really dry skin, including my lips. And this lipstick happens to be really comfortable, really, really comfortable. Even satin lipsticks sometimes can be very drying on my lips. So yeah, I just really like the formula. I still do like the shade range despite them kind of discontinuing a lot of shades. I still really like their shade range. It's really, really good. Like they have a lot of nice like neutral browns, which I really like. And speaking of lips, we're gonna move into skincare now. This Macreen Actives High Performance Lip Filler. This is such an awesome product. This immediately makes my lips feel super plump and well, they make them look super plump and they make them feel really, really moisturized. And I really like the texture of this particular product too, because it has almost like a mixture between like an oil and a gloss and like a lip mask all at the same time. The only slight complaint that I have is the packaging. So it is a roller ball. So when it comes to roller balls, it doesn't have any product to spread unless you give it some product. So you have to hold this down and then you have to like wait for the product to kind of fill up down here. Now, I've just started kind of keeping this like on my desk. I'm glad they have like a nice flat cap. I just keep it upside down on my desk so that it's always there ready for me to use, because I was like, why is nothing coming out? And it just, because it takes a little time for this filler, this plumper to kind of get down to the roller ball. So that would be my advice. Just if you get this, just keep it this way. But it's such a good plumper. I put it on before I put on the YSL today. And it's like you virtually have like no lines on your lips, like nothing. And it makes my upper lip look like I've gotten like a little bit of filler. I've never gotten filler before, so I don't know what my upper lip would look like, but I would imagine, I would imagine that's what it would look like. So anyway, this product is pretty magical. And I wanted to recommend the Dr. Barbara Sturm Hyaluronic Serum. I don't have it because I used it all up. I've gone through 2 bottles of that serum. It is the only like hyaluronic acid serum that I've used where I really feel a difference to my skin. I don't know, I'm not a skincare chemist. I really don't know that much about like ingredients or whatever, but I do know hyaluronic acid is supposed to like keep moisture in your skin. And it's such a good product. There's a lot of hyaluronic acid products out there that feel nice, but I don't actually feel like it's like moisturize my skin from within. And this hyaluronic serum from Dr. Barbara Sturm really makes my skin feel like plump from within. I see a difference almost immediately every time I use this serum. So that is definitely something I'm going to be picking up during the sale, because you know, when it comes to skincare, it can be quite pricey. So it's nice to get 20% off. So I'm looking forward to that. And speaking of pricey skincare, you guys know I'm going to talk about La Mer because it's La Mer. And I've been using La Mer for about 25 years now. And anytime anyone compliments me on my skin, which is so nice, but anytime anyone compliments me on my skin, they ask me, what is it? What's my secret? What do I use? I tell them it's La Mer. I've been using this, like I said, for 25 years. It was the only skincare that I used for a very long time because I suffered from eczema. I had super sensitive skin. Now, they don't make any of these claims. It was just something that I came across personal use-wise, just my own experience. This was the only product that like just healed my skin. And now that I'm older and I don't really have to deal with eczema, thank goodness, it's like the one good thing that's come out of getting older is that I don't really have issues with my eczema anymore. But I continue to use this because it's, out of all of my moisturizers, this is the most healing. I feel like when my skin just feels like busted from whatever, from sun, wind, travel, just, you know, daily life. If it just feels busted, you know, there's some days where you're just like, oh man, my poor skin. That's when I use La Mer. I have a ton of other skincare, as you guys know. I'm constantly testing stuff and trying different moisturizers. And I've come across some amazing moisturizers, of course, but they're usually very targeted towards like fine lines, moisturization, you know, dark spots, smoothing, firming, like whatever it is, but none of them are as healing as La Mer. And I feel like if you have skin that's really just kind of been through the ringer, or if you're someone who maybe doesn't even have sensitive skin, but they love to do like acid peels or chemical peels, or they're, you know, going to the dermo all the time and getting like stuff done to their face. And it just feels like after a while, like you just need a little bit of healing help. I would definitely try La Mer. It's just so good. And I'm holding up the regular moisturizing cream, but I use the moisturizing soft cream. I use the moisturizing soft lotion. I love them all. It just sort of depends on what my skin's needs are. The cream is the thickest. It's the OG. It's when I'm feeling real busted. I will pull this out. But like in the summertime, the moisturizing soft lotion is generally good enough for me. Like my skin isn't as dry as it is in the wintertime. And the other product that I've started using is the treatment lotion. So you guys have heard me talk about the Sicilier Essential Skincare Lotion. And that's a product I like to use between washing and the rest of my skincare. It sort of like paves the way. It makes all of my other skincare more effective. That's like one of those products I can't go without. Now, when I'm feeling, again, like especially busted, I've been using the treatment lotion instead of that essential skincare lotion from Sicily. I feel like they do kind of essentially the same thing, but this is kind of like an oily water, and that one is just sort of like a thin lotion. So that is great for every day. I want to say like 2 out of 3 times I will use that one. But when I'm feeling like I need a little extra love, a little extra hydration, a little extra like tenderness to the skin, I've been reaching for the treatment lotion, and it's so great. So great. So I think if you're gonna try a couple things from La Mer, I would try this. I think there's even a set, which I'll link down below. I think there's even a set of the treatment lotion and the cream together, which, I mean, you probably won't need anything else. So anyway, I'll link that down below as well. But these 2 products from La Mer, will always recommend, will always highly recommend. I also have some cleansers to talk about. So the Tatcha Indigo Cleansing Balm, this is one of their newer products, and I just love this cleansing balm. It is, well, it's almost done. It's fragrance free. It's very effective. It just works really well, and I love the texture of it. A lot of cleansing balms, they lean a little bit too oily. They have like a mentholated kind of scent to them, like the Eve Lom one does, the one from Mila Morrissey does. Those are great cleansing balms, but sometimes that bothers my eyes. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but sometimes that bothers my eyes. Anyway, I just like this one because it's super clean, it's super gentle, but it's super effective, and I just love it. And I love that it's in this little compact jar, because generally cleansing balms, I don't know why, they come in this giant tub, and usually it's not even like filled up, it's like just the packaging, and it's great when you're home, but then I can't travel with it. But this one I've been bringing with me to travel, so it's just been great, and I just really love this, so wanted to recommend this. And another cleanser that I've been loving is this one from Tata Harper. This is from her Super Kind line, which is specifically for sensitive skin. But this is the refining cleanser. And this cleanser has little fine grits in there. So not only does it cleanse your skin, but it exfoliates it at the same time. And I love that. I love a good exfoliation because I like physical exfoliators. I can't use chemical exfoliators generally because of my sensitive skin, my skin that's prone to eczema. I should actually probably try that again because, you know, I have not been dealing with eczema lately, but historically I have not been able to use like chemical exfoliators. So I love physical exfoliators, especially ones that are this gentle. So this is a cleanser you can use daily. And it's just really nice. It's very effective, but it is very gentle for sensitive skin. And I love it. I love it. So that is the Super Kind Refining Cleanser from Tata Harper. I do have some SPF recommendations. I've really gotten into SPF. Now, I've always understood the importance of SPF, but I've always been too lazy to apply it. But I think just living in Vegas, and it's so brutally sunny here most of the year, I've really gotten into SPF. So Supergoop Play, I have this like all over my house. These are just 2 bottles that were down here. I know more upstairs. And I love this kind of value size with the pump because whenever I go and I take Butters out for a walk, or if I'm just about to like run and do an errand or something and I haven't put sunblock on my body, just on my face, I'll just pump out some and just put it like on my arms or whatever's exposed. And it's just a great texture. It's very lotiony. It's, it has a little bit of that shine to it, but it's not too bad. But it just goes on really, really nicely. It has a really light scent. It doesn't smell like overly sunscreeny in any way, and it's very effective. It is SPF 50. It is a chemical sunscreen, which is probably why it just goes on like clear, like nothing. But yeah, I've been loving this. My husband loves it too, and I know he's been putting it on every day now because he's noticed like his left ear, the one that's like closest to the car door, he noticed that was getting kind of like burned just from driving. And I told him, because I had a meeting with a dermatologist, this was years ago, but she was talking about how the tops of our ears and right here over our eyebrows are the two most common places that people get skin cancer. So I told him that and he was like, oh my God, he's like, yeah, my ear's been getting burned. So he's been really religious about putting like the SPF 50 now on his ears and well, everywhere, but like especially on his ears. And it's been helping. His like little irritation went away. So, that is Supergoop Play. And then this I cannot rave enough about. So this is the Shiseido Clear Sunscreen Stick. And this happens to be like a special version of it. But usually I think it's just in a blue, this color blue tube. But this they did a collaboration with WSL, which is the World Surf League. Anyway, this clear sunscreen stick is such a lifesaver because you're supposed to reapply sunscreen all day. They always say it's good for, I think the max I've ever seen it is maybe like 120 minutes. What is that, 2 hours? So you're supposed to like just constantly be reapplying sunscreen, especially if you're gonna be spending time outdoors. And if you wear makeup, it's very difficult. However, the sunscreen stick is so amazing because you can just put it on right over your makeup and nothing comes off on the stick. My makeup hasn't moved. You can compare the two sides. So with sunscreen stick, without, it is a lifesaver. And I actually keep this in my handbag. So yeah, just every time I'm about to like get in the car or do whatever, I'll just kind of quickly just sort of like run it all over, especially this part of my cheek. That's where I have like these big sunspots or whatever. That's obviously where I get the most sun, but like I'll just try and put it all over my face very quickly. And it's amazing. Definitely pick this up if you feel like one of your sunscreen challenges is the reapplication. I've just gotten into the habit of it, and like I said, I keep it in my bag, and it's really been such a lifesaver. And of course, I had to mention a fragrance. So, I love so many of the Tom Ford fragrances that I associate with the cooler months, like Tuscan leather, like ombre leather, all of those I really, really love. But I decided to just pull out and highlight Tobacco Vanille because I love tobacco. And I don't really like sweet, like overly sweet fragrances, but the vanilla in here is very, very subtle. And tobacco itself, I feel like people kind of misunderstand what tobacco smells like. I think they just assume it's gonna smell very smoky, but that's, burnt tobacco. Tobacco itself, like tobacco leaves, tobacco sometimes smells like raisins. I don't know, does anyone else feel that way? But anyway, that kind of sourness in the tobacco is offset by the vanilla. So it's just this really beautiful balance. It's not too sweet, it's not too tobacco-y. It's really lovely. And I feel like with a lot of the Tom Ford fragrances, like I don't like his Soleil or fragrances that are meant to be lighter because I find that once they settle down on my skin, I'm left with like the deeper notes, like all of the lighter notes have dissipated and I'm left with this kind of like musky kind of like undertone, underscent. And with this, and with like a lot of his deeper scents, I find them to be so much more well-balanced and they wear that way all day. Like I smell a nice balance between the tobacco and the vanilla all day when I wear this. And even with the Tuscan leather and the other ones, I just feel like they're, just better balanced. So anyway, I wanted to mention the Tobacco Vanille because I think this is great for the cooler months. It's like, it's very, very warm and it's very inviting. So I love that one. And those are all of my recommendations. My God, I feel like I've been talking forever. Anyway, I hope you guys have fun shopping or not shopping or just browsing or filling up, you know, imaginary dream carts or whatever. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, like what things you're thinking about purchasing. Let me know if you have any questions about the products I just talked about. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter if you're interested in hearing about like my new blog posts and things like that. And I'll see you in my next video.